and Public Affairs Counselor of the Embassy of Canada, Mr. Colin Townson, for the welcome remarks.
There's a challenge to being that tall. Look, the last thing anyone needs to hear before we sit down to this film is a boring bureaucrat say a bunch of boring bureaucratic things. I hate doing that, so I'm not going to do it. What I prefer to do is, number one, acknowledge and thank the contribution made by the Film Development Council of the Philippines, who are hosting us tonight. They've been great partners. We work with them on all manner of cultural exchange, film, etc. So, on behalf of the Embassy of Canada and Norway, thank them. I'd also like to thank in absentia my Norwegian partners who are caught in traffic, but who also were a significant contributor to tonight's events. And last, on behalf of Ambassador Hartman and the Embassy of Canada, I'd like to thank you all for being here. There's two other acknowledgements I'd like to take time to make. Number one, I'd like us all to take a moment to acknowledge survivors of Super Typhoon Yolanda. And I know that there are a few in this room, so could I ask those who survived Super Typhoon Yolanda to please stand. Stand and be recognized. The second thing I would like to do is acknowledge the fact that a great number of Filipinos did not survive. And so I'm hoping that you will all stand with me and join me in a moment of silence for those who did not survive Super Typhoon Yolanda. Thank you. Yesterday, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., along with several leading figures, Philippine leaders, gathered in Tacloban to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the impact of Super Typhoon Yolanda here in the Philippines. That event acknowledges pain and trauma and tragedy of that particular storm. Tonight, the next day, I think it's important that we turn that page, because there's another story beyond tragedy that comes out of Super Typhoon Yolanda. And it's a story about resilience. It's a story about communities coming together to bounce back, to rebuild, to find a new future. We're very fortunate that our film today tells that story, and it tells it over a long time period. Balikbayan is the embodiment of that story, of people coming together from all walks of life to rebuild and bring themselves back together and recover as a community from a devastating tragedy. And I think that there is resilience and courage demonstrated on this film that I think anyone here can take inspiration from. And that's what I'm hoping we can celebrate tonight, while acknowledging the tragedy of the past, also importantly acknowledge the opportunities that came out of the courage and resilience of those who survived to rebuild and find a new future. So that's the introduction I would like to offer to you as we, without further ado, jump into the film. But I hope you will all join me first in acknowledging the folks who made this happen. And first and foremost, John, power behind Balikbayan. Please stand with me, please. And the Balikbayan team. Now, after after the screening of the film, we're also very fortunate. We have John himself, of course. We have other first responders and people who are present and part of the immediate response effort, and we're going to have a quick Q&A with them right after the film. We'll be able to explore some of the themes, and they'll be able to take your questions. And then afterwards, I'd like to invite you for some refreshments. So without further ado, Balikbayan.